Ooh, well, hello. Hope you're having a good start to your day. Um, I actually tried to record this a moment ago and I had to stop because I lost my train of thought. I spoke for about 20 minutes and I deleted it. There's, thoughts are thoughts. They will reoccur. They're not going anywhere. They may not come out exactly the same as I did before, but the essence will still be the same. Now, the purpose of this particular video is to give some of you some very positive encouragement, and I'm going to do something that uh, many people my age. And if you're wondering what my age is, I believe I've shared this in other posts, but I have 66 years of experience exploring this terrain in many different ways and many nooks and crannies and in all kinds of situations, some by my design, although I have to question whether it was really by my design, and others I was a victim of circumstance. There was nothing that I could do, and I had to deal with the cards that I was dealt, and I was dealt a very strange hand. Uh, and it's so strange, and I've been thinking about how to write about it, and it's not easy at all because there's so many different parts and aspects, and I've so really it's almost been a life just full of chaos, so much chaos that I actually feel comfortable in the current chaos. So I'm accustomed to it. I'm acclimated to chaos and dysfunction to a certain degree. Not but I now I actually remove myself from that dysfunction, and I just sort of float around and meet the people that are a little bit more aligned with my spirit as it is at the moment. Uh, this is I'm saying that this is something that a lot of people my age are not. 66 Gregorian calendar years of exploration. A lot of people my age are willing to admit mistakes that they've made in the past. It doesn't matter what the mistake is. They're just not willing. It's just their egos are too sensitive. They feel that if they admit to something, they're going to be vulnerable or what have you. And in my particular case, it's not. My ego is fluid. In a sense, I redefine my ego as often as possible because there's always new things that I'm going to, learn and discover about myself and about the world at large. There's nothing I need to protect in that sense. Now, I don't want to be, certainly don't accept being disrespected. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people that feel entitled to do that. That's sad because really it's a reflection on their insecurities and their the fact that they really can't find their own meaning. So the best a person can do, and some people can do in that situation, is just try to tear other people down to make themselves feel a little bit better. Again, I have no regrets or because every situation is a learning situation. Unfortunately, it took me an incredibly long time. And when I say long, I would say approximately 42 years to understand that. And actually, it may have taken me a little bit longer because even though I quit consuming alcohol, I didn't think about the reasons that made it make sense. So I will say that when I quit, it wasn't a stoic, I quit, just like that, and then cold turkey. It was sort of an accidental, slowly coming off because of certain situations and conditions, and that really kind of it unfolded, and I kind of stumbled into sobriety, if you will. So if you can do it deliberately, kudos, kudos, kudos to you. Okay. My nephew, my youngest sister's son, my youngest sister passed or died in a tragic single vehicle accident when he was only 4 years old. He doesn't drink, and I'm very happy about that. In fact, he turns 30, and he makes fun of his friends that drink, and I like that, and I think more people should do that. Because this is what I need to let you know right now on why it doesn't make absolutely any sense to consume alcohol. Alcohol is a toxic, corrosive chemical agent. That's it. It's a toxic, corrosive chemical agent. And when you consume it, even though it's diluted and tasty juices and these different types of easily consumable concoctions, it still damages you. What alcohol does, first think about what alcohol is used for, and it's without being diluted in juices. It's used to clean and sanitize surfaces, okay? It can dilute fats and oils. That's what it does, So it's not it has no ameliorative properties, sort of a healthy aspects to it that contribute to our good health. I mean, consuming alcohol makes you emotionally volatile, depending on the quantities that you consume, makes you think slower. It really, what it does is it sort of puts a cloak or a damper on your senses. Now, I used to help my dad when he had his piano shop restore pianos. One of the things that when the hammer hits the string on the piano, it has a big fuzzy thing because it sort of dampens the brightness of the sound to a perfect place. Okay, and in a way, that's kind of what we're doing to ourselves when we drink alcohol. We're sort of putting a damper on our emotions. I mean, and people just say, they want to forget. They're trying to shut down. They're trying to relax or whatever the case may be. But alcohol is a very, very poor substance. Not poor. It's actually toxic again and detrimental to your health. And it's obviously detrimental to your health. Maybe you don't know this, but 180,000 people die a year because of alcohol consumption, whether it is directly a direct cause or sort of like a secondary cause in the systems. And fentanyl kills 70,000 people a year. So when you think about that, I mean, why is alcohol legal if it kills 180,000 people a year? Well, it's easy. It's because it makes you weak. And when you're weak, you're easier to control. You're easier to influence. You're easier to manipulate. You're easier to deceive. It's easier to take advantage of you, to profit off of you, to exploit you. And you won't die immediately. So, you'll have medical issues, and, by consuming alcohol, you're basically, you're weakening yourself so that others may profit off of you. There's parasites everywhere that they want to take things from you all the time. They want to take away your freedom. They want to take away your happiness. They want to take away this. They want to take away, your money. They want to take away your, they're parasites everywhere. And you have to be cognizant of that. So, I mean, if you want to be exploited, if you want to be taken advantage of, if you want to be weak, okay, if you want to be asleep, especially in these times when it's probably pays you a little bit more to be alert, well, I guess, some people simply have a kind of a nihilistic relationship with alcohol in the sense that, that, and this is very understandable as well, that life sucks so bad because of the uber wealthy and how they control things and how they manipulate things and, how they expect you to live in this box to basically feed their personal freedoms. It's a lot of pressure. And so, most of us don't want to just go and kill ourselves. So we'll just slowly kill ourselves. We'll kind of check out. And then over time, I mean, it will kill us. And tobacco is the same thing. There's nothing positive about consuming tobacco in any way whatsoever. Of course, it's important, I will say, to find a way to replace the behavior. And, I found out that the best way to replace the behavior is, for me, the healthiest way is physical activity, and in particular for me, how it started was walking. But it was never just walking to go out on a cruise, like a leisurely stroll in the park. It was always purposeful. It was always like moving forward. Just, and I, again, this is sort of like I didn't really understand. Not that I tried to stop and understand. I just felt that was the only thing that I could do, that was at my disposal. I didn't have any money, for fancy tools or gym memberships or anything whatsoever. So walking was, and walking period. And then, when you do that, there's the people that are going to look at you and they're going to laugh at you. And I've had instances where people sort of mock me because of the way I walk. And a lot of times I moved my hands, and I actually dressed with pants to sweat more. And even, and doing this entire process, I was even learning more things about myself and about my body. And then at one point I decided, what? I want to switch. I'm going to go from walking to running. And then I started running, and wow, that was basically, I think I kind of started right around when COVID began in March or April. And I was actually running with a mask, which sort of accidentally was helpful because it helped me learn how to run or to keep my mouth closed when I ran. Because, of course, with a mask and wearing glasses, if I was running, then I would get steam. And so, if I was breathing too much. So I had to learn how to control my breathing in running. So I'm, regulating my body. And I'm very happy with what I've been able to accomplish. I'm a little dubious with the recent statistics because I've been hearing the coaching app. I use Google Fit, telling me that I'm running a 9-minute mile. I think my tracking is off somehow, and I haven't been able to identify where. But nonetheless, I'm still, for a person that's my age that just started running. Essentially, I ran my first half marathon at the end of 2022 in December, and just a few months later, I ran another half marathon in Lake Eola Park in Orlando. It's part of this best damn race, which oddly enough, people drink beer after the race. They get free drinks. That's insane to me. But you know what? I don't question it. But I didn't. I kind of like the concept of running in that particular scenario. Because it's just, I don't know. It's just funny to me. And then once I started, I did back off from running half marathons, and now I'm more at 10Ks, which is basically a little bit over 6 miles. And I'll do that on a regular basis. I'll do that 3-4 times. Sometimes I'll do it the whole week. Oops. And for me, at this point in time, and some of you may have noticed that I've posted some playlists because I listen to music while I run. And I call it sort of a cardio communion and a culture toxic purging, because when you think about it, we're born into a very, very toxic environment. And we are emotional creatures. We're not logical creatures. We have the capacity to exercise logic. But this is one thing that you need to understand. No matter what logical sequence we're working with, the foundation, the base, is always an emotional premise that is unsubstantiated. It's just how a person feels about a certain issue, and then they elaborate the rationalizations for their feelings. So nobody knows absolute objective reality. Nobody knows that, but there's certainly quite a few people that you'll run across that try to tell you that they do. That's. But I'll put it to you in another way to try to help you understand how absurd it is for anybody to think that they know everything or that they know what reality is all about. If anything, for me, we are in a chamber of chaos, and we exist within the 0 and the 1. We're somewhere in between. We're not nothing, and we're not everything. We're somewhere in between. And in that in between areas, absolutes don't exist. They don't exist. Another way of thinking about this is that really, proportionately, compared to the size of the Earth, my particular body is somewhere between 75 and 79 nanometers in size. 75 to 79. Now, that is microscopic in size, okay? And so what would be something of that size relative to who we are and what we know? Yeah, well, a ribosome would fall in that category. So then you ask yourself, well, what's a ribosome? And a ribosome is part of a living cell that we can take off of our body. Think about that, okay? A part of a living cell. Hold on, it gets better. In a single living cell, there are 10 million ribosomes. The ribosome basically is the part of the cell that processes the protein for the growth of the cell. Now, I referred to my body as being that size relative to the size of the Earth. My brain, which is really the source of all the information that I have. My heart is not the source of information. The brain is the source of the information. The heart is just a muscle, okay, that kind of pumps the blood throughout the body, okay? But the brain is where everything is at. All our senses are controlled with our brain. And the brain is only 2% of that 75, 79 nanometers. Think about how absurd it is for any of us to think that we know absolutely everything or the absolute truth. And I'm only speaking in reference to the size of the Earth. So our reality is not objective, it's subjective. And not only is it subjective, but it is also conditional, based on the situations that we have to ourselves contend with. But that doesn't make them any more important or any less important than what other people experience. I am getting a little off track here because I was talking about alcohol. And anybody who hasn't, I think that one of the dumbest things that I experienced was the fact that I looked at the age of 21 as sort of this mecca that would open the door to alcohol, to allow me to consume alcohol. And alcohol isn't even a drug. It's not a drug. It's a chemical agent. A chemical agent. A toxic, corrosive chemical agent. And tobacco, again, this is, my dad died from lung cancer. And he rolled his own for many years, had his bugle boys. He was in the Army, and that was something that the GIs would do. This is all these bad habits, these are socially taught. We are enculturated with bad habits, and we're encouraged. And I definitely think that there are some that really, they say their attitude is, hey, if you're stupid enough to drink, then we're going to be smart enough to profit off of you. So go drink all you want. Okay. Again, alcohol kills on an annual basis around 180,000 people a year. 180,000 people a year. All kinds of, vehicle accidents. A drunk father shoots his wife, or a drunk, and his kid. There was a situation where somebody was drunk and an older lady was driving a vehicle, and she just drove into a house and killed 4 people, including an infant. There's all these situations, and of course, hey, if you make mistakes, somebody's waiting in the wings to profit off of your mistakes. Driving drunk, having no control in public, people will steal from you. I've seen that. People brutally mocked while they're passed out drunk. I definitely have seen that. And I said, you wouldn't believe the things that I've done. And again, I have no problem telling you that I was completely stupid. But I'm not stupid anymore. And I'm not weak either, because, I don't have to pat myself on the back or anything like that, because in many ways it's not that great of an accomplishment to not be stupid, So I know too many people say, I've been sober for a big fucking deal. Good for you. I'm glad you are. But at the same time, you don't need to just memorialize your accomplishment. At least, I don't feel the need to. And, and I know that I have conquered this entirely because, people can drink right in front of me. I walk into bars and people are drinking and having a great time and enjoying their lives. And you know what? I am too. In fact, I'm having a greater time. I'm even more amused watching, especially if I've been hanging out in a place for the course of an evening, like 4 or 5 hours, and watching people drink the entire time, like all kinds of concoctions, and then watching how they behave at the end of the night. Woo! It's pretty funny and sad, but, it is what it is. But, when we do these things, I understand. And so it's not like I'm judging people for behaving the way they behave. I feel bad that we're misled and that we think that, this is funny or not important or irrelevant, inconsequential. It has tremendous consequences. Families are destroyed, children are abandoned, people are killed, arrested, and thrown in jail. They commit crimes. They do other drugs, and then if any drug, or again, alcohol is not a drug, but if there's anything that is a portal or a gateway to drugs, it's alcohol. It's not marijuana. That's absurd. And the other thing about, with alcohol, which I think should be fairly obvious, is that, people can become incredibly aggressive. Again, emotional volatility is a part of the the behavioral manifestations of consuming certain quantities of alcohol, and that's what they want. Again, they want people on the loose that are aggressive, and this is a very, 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 very malignant culture, toxic and malignant. But the good news is that if you take care of yourself, if you take care of your body, if you exercise regularly, but I would say with moderately intense, and it has to be more of a cardio, and the more of a full body workout that it is, the better. That's why, for me, the simplest form of exercising and purging all the toxic elements that are consumed on a daily basis. We see toxic things, we hear toxic things, we smell toxic things, we breathe in toxic, toxicity comes through our mouths, and it hits our skin, and we absorb it through everywhere because this is a completely toxic environment. We have to treat our body as a filter more than a reservoir. 98% of the people in this country are sick in one form, fashion, or another. And I'm not one of them. So that puts me in the 2%. Okay, in fact, I've gotten better because of how I changed my lifestyle. How I change, and I'm kind of a flexitarian. I would hope that more vegan options become affordable. I do what I can given the tools that I have at my disposal right now, which are very few and very limited. I try to do the best that I can. But the daily toxic purge is a very important part of who I am right now, and the things that I do, and it actually is what gives me the energy. I create my own inertia. I create my own energy by engaging in this. I mean, think about it. This is not about exercise. Okay, it's not about exercise. It's about conditioning my body to move for over a certain period of time at a certain pace on a continuous basis. And so my body gets acclimated to a higher frequency, a higher biorhythm. Everything in my body is accelerating. Everything. My enzymes, the bacteria, the oxygen, everything is flowing to the brain. I'm listening to music, so I'm also assimilating that. I'm looking at the sights because I'm changing the scenery. I'm not doing this inside of a gym or anything like that. I'm doing it outdoors. And I learned a lot about my sweat, and how sometimes the smell of the sweat is indicative of what I am burning in my body. And I learned at the very early stages that I was burning protein, which I shouldn't have been burning. I should have been burning carbs. And so I had to make adjustments to the amount of carbs and protein and fats that I had in my diet, kind of put them in what would be considered a reasonable range of each other, in order to actually my sweat would, and the result of this was almost smell like this ammonia, this Clorox. It's very intense smell. It doesn't happen anymore, because part of it's like I'm kind of balancing things out over time. And it's all been a learning process. Again, it's not like I do this research and reading books or anything like that. Everything has just been a matter of doing it, of just doing it. So do yourself a favor. I mean, obviously, economically, it's going to benefit you. Alcohol's expensive, and it's incredibly dumb. It really is. There's nothing beneficial about it. And if you can't quit, I'd hate to say this, but you're weak. Maybe you're a coward. Maybe you're scared of what your friends would say if you stop drinking, and they make fun of you, And so that would be a sign of weakness, if we let if we allow people to control us and actually make us hurt ourselves and damage ourselves just to benefit them and their their weak spirit. That's what it, it's a weak spirit. And but again, the weakness and conformity and all these things. This is something that is, I don't know how to describe it. I really don't. I mean, I've done it myself. I think back. The one thing I will tell you though that I don't like is when people say, "Do it," because that's a command, an authoritarian command. Just like make it great. Again, everybody knows you can't go back to the best, and there's no actual gauges or what's a word that I'm looking for? Metrics that define what it means to be great. It's just make. And it's a territorial, this territory, make it. That is completely antisocial and sociopathic and narcissistic in oh so many ways. And it is a sign of insecurity. It is a sign of a lack of spiritual growth. It's definitely not Christian in any way whatsoever. It is the antithesis of Christianity. And, I've never really been a religious person, but I've actually sort of become somewhat of a spiritual person. And there's religion is about behavior, and it's about appeasement, and it's about sycophancy, and it's about easy salvation, with just please and praise and worship. And please me, reward me because you're so great. Oh, it makes me sick, really, kind of nauseating. Not kind of, it is very nauseating and sad. It's sad, but again, these are things that are taught, and we really, I think that the more time we spend inside, is the more we start to understand the outside. It's just by look. There's so much out there that if you think you know what normal is, you have no idea. You really have no idea. So I know I've kind of gone off on different tangents and stuff like that, but again, going back to the alcohol, just keep in mind that it is a toxic, corrosive chemical agent that destroys your system. It destroys it. It destroys your nervous system. It destroys your capability of functioning in any type of coherent way. And it takes time to recover from that consumption. Of course, it makes you overweight, slow, and unmotivated. I can't. And a lot of us are nihilistic or weak. We really don't give a fuck sometimes. It's, again, it's understandable because, the environment that we're dealing with is so toxic. So toxic, If you're trying to figure out what's going on, there's nothing to figure out, okay? What you have to do is do everything you can to make yourself better. And that means divesting yourself of all the nonsense, of all the bull that they tell you, or the things that you need to do, the things that you need to value, just throw the gaslighting in the garbage, just push it back. Push it back. It's all nonsense, So anyway, again, kudos to everyone that has been smarter than me. I'm glad to join your ranks at this point in time. I'm very happy to say that I'm part of the sober tribe, and enjoying life immeasurably because it's given me so much freedom to enjoy people, places, situations. It's given me confidence. Of course, combined with the regular cardio running, it's just done wonders for me, and the wonders are undeniable. They are undeniable. It's just so many positive aspects to this. So anyway, hope you have a great day. I hope you wish you continued success if you are making efforts to improve yourself. I'm in your corner. I want you to succeed in making yourself a better person. Don't let anybody get in your way of finding yourself, being who you are, embrace that, but don't settle. You know, we're not just one thing. We're many things. So I don't consider myself, I'm not a label. I'm not an independent, a progressive, a Republican, a communist, a gay. I don't have a flag, a territory, or anything. I'm just aligned with let's say, with the sort of the divine order of the universe, aligned because the universe is moving, it's changing, and that's what I do. I move and I change. That's the best form of alignment. The movement and change, and moving and trying to understand and engaging with the different people that I engage with. I'm going to go out for a run in a bit. We'll see how we do. Have a good one.